My name is Jacinta Saad. I helped with the research for 100 Years of Beauty, Egypt. The looks that we have chosen are very diverse in nature. Each represent various political struggles in each decade. The look that was chosen for the 1910s is the urban look that women would wear in order to step outside the home. She would wear the abaya and a veer to cover her mouth. Blurs your sense of recognition slightly. So it was a way to keep the private, but in public. The image that was chosen for the 1920s is that of Huda Sha'rawi. And Huda Sha'rawi in 1919 actually did take off the veil as a sign of resistance. It was a moment of liberation, and she is the pioneer of the Egyptian feminist movement. The aesthetics of the 1930s, 40s, and 50s represent the golden age of the Egyptian cinema and the rise of Cairo and Alexandria as cultural hubs, where the women were beautifully adorned, they had very regal postures. And on the other hand, it also reflects the star system that was born at the time. For the 1930s, we chose the image of Kulthum, and Kulthum is known as the star of the Middle East. She was the most prominent Egyptian singer. She had the capability of gathering the public. Kulthum had a couple of very interesting traits. One of them was that she used to hold the handkerchief and she used to express her emotions deeply while she was singing through the handkerchief. For the 1940s, we chose the image of Queen Fawzia. She was the daughter of King Fuad I. She is descendant of the Muhammad Ali dynasty. Muhammad Ali was the founder of modern Egypt. For the 1950s, we chose the image of Durraya Shafiq. And Durraya Shafiq was a philosopher, she was a poet, and she was also an editor. But first and foremost, she was one of the leaders of the Egyptian feminist movement. And because of her activism and her efforts, women were granted the right to vote by the Egyptian constitution. For the 1960s, we chose an image of a factory worker. There was a boom in local economy because Nasser, who took over after we expelled the British from Egypt in the early 1950s, he decided to focus on local manufacturing and reviving the local economy. But at the same time, it's also a moment in history of Egypt where we were liberated from the colonial power, from being a British protectorate. Therefore, there was this idea of adopting particular Western choices, but making them much more conservative and adapt them to the local customs and norms. During that era, Said Hosni was one of the major stars. This image represents Said Hosni with the earrings, a particular look, her face, the way she's looking at the camera. Said Hosni was literally the sweetheart of the Egyptian screen. People, men, women, children, girls, boys, loved her. During the 1980s, there was a lot of social dissent against Sadet's open-door policy for a couple of reasons, one of which was that he was very westernized and he allowed a lot of the Western norms to infiltrate society. Many of the religiously minded people chose to migrate to the Gulf. In fashion and in beauty, we started accepting Western norms of beauty, which clashed with the rise of the veil. During the 1990s, people started coming back from the Gulf, especially after the first Iraqi war. And with them, they brought the customs, the much more conservative customs of the Gulf. The image that we chose is that of Shirihan, who is a famous Egyptian actress and singer. She used to wear over-the-top, glittery, sequin dresses and gowns. She was one of the people who was affected by the religious wave of the 90s. The beginning of the 21st century in Egypt represents the ways in which Egyptians are trying to reconcile their conservative aspects with the modernist aspect. The sartorial choices are really representative of this hybrid moment, this clash of civilizations almost. For instance, a lot of the veiled young women wanted to wear sleeveless tops that had cleavage, and in order to be able to do so, because they are conservative, they would wear long sleeve tops underneath them. That paired with the conservative minds really created a very interesting hybrid fashion and aesthetics that women adopted. Decades of the 2010s started with a very big and significant event in Egyptian history, the 2011 revolution. We've created an image that combines a couple of elements that were born out of the revolution. One of them is the symbol of the flag that women used to wear as a headband during the protests. And the other element that we have added to the picture was the thumbprint. During the revolution, the youth mostly fought for their right to be heard. And this right to be heard is embodied in the right to vote in an election that we hope is not corrupt. We have chosen purposefully to end on a high note, even though the hopes of the revolution have dwindled since 2011. We are conscious that the veil opens up a very controversial debate. And while we are not trying to resolve the debate, we want people to be quite aware that the veil means different things to the West and the East. The West chose the veil as a symbol of the oppression of Arab and Muslim women. One of the arguments is that the veil represents the entry of women into the public sphere. It is what allows them to be political beings. All our standards of beauty and anything that is remotely related to aesthetics in terms of art and beauty is linked, incestuously connected to politics.